So you into cryptocurrency?
Nah, man. There's a whole, I get the get rich quick, and you could come up on the I just tell people it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because of the convenience. It's a good thing because you can make so much money so quick.
Right.
But slowly they taking us down to fall into the trap. And the trap is where you don't want to end up. And that's a part of the trap. And I get it. You can still make money. It's good, but it's a part of what they are planning and gearing up towards and what it is going to be / become.
Like one world currency?
When it's the one world currency and you get the chip inside of you.
Like Mark of the Beast stuff?
And what's going to happen is when so that's headed towards that.
Right.
So the chip, it's to condition your mind. So it'd be like, oh, we've always been tapping. We've always been using cryptocurrency. We've always been, doing it this way. So when you get the chip, you ain't going to think nothing of it because you won't be like, nah, they've always been doing it similar to this, right? So the chip, when they put it inside of you, is going to be activated as your credit card. So long story short, now you could just, if they put it in your forehead or your wrist, now you could just slide your arm or slide your head, whatever they decide to put it in. And they're going to say, oh, there's all these good things about it. And this is where they manipulate / trick you / deceive you. They're going to say, you know why the chip is good? Because now no one could come up to you and just rob you and take your cash. You know why the chip is good? Because if you get kidnapped, I can find you and locate you with the chip. They're going to tell you all these great things. But here's the part that they don't tell you. If you do not comply with the government, and you do not do what the government says, all they got to do is simply turn that chip off. And now your credit card don't work. And now you can't even go to Carl's Jr. and get a cheeseburger. Now you can't even go get tacos or eat. And now, in order for that chip to be turned back on / activated, you got to be under control and the mercy of the government and what they tell you to do to be able to even shop for food or whatever else is that you want to get. And so all that is leading towards that, man. So I tell people you're soon enough going to be backed up into having to make the decision of accept or don't accept. But when it comes down to it, and people always, and that's how they control you. And people always say, oh, they got you control on your phone. No, they don't. Because I could take this phone, I could throw it in a river, and you no longer got anything on me physically. But once they put that in you physically, now you're under control because that's your credit card, that's your currency, that's your money, that's your whole damn life right there.
Right.
And again, a lot of this is exposed. You guys can watch the documentary with your own eyes. And to go one step farther, respectfully, it's all in the Bible.
Right.
It's all in Revelations. It's right there in black print.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, but if you want to see some current, watch America Faces into Freedom, you'll get a wake-up call right there, and it shows you how and why this is happening, because this is all leading up to the one world government, the one world currency.
I'm back again with another lesson. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to first begin by giving all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash. I want to give double honors to my elders and apostles who rule well, where I've learned this truth from. I want to say peace and salutations to Akim, you brothers out there laboring, pushing this word out in all truth and in sincerity, presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice. I want to say shalom also to you Israelite sisters that may be listening, and also to you Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. You may look like these other nations, which you understand what I mean, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So just to clarify, you can look like a so-called Chinese person. You can look like a East Indian person. You can look like a Japanese person. You can look like a white person. But if your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that means you are the chosen seed line of the, of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, right? Which salvation is only for the Israelites, right? Just to be clear, to clarify, right? So as you saw from the video that I played at the beginning of this lesson, right? You see the actor, you probably notice his face. He's in quite a few movies, films, and he's well known for playing a gangster role, Southern California, Mexican cartel, whatever. He was in the movie Training Day, is one film I can remember in, and also in the Fast and the Furious. He was in that also, right? It's Hector. I remember that, Hector. He looks like a Hector, but his name in real life is No OG. But in the video clip that I played, he was on the podcast Drink Champs with the rapper Noriega, right? Now, Noriega asked him the question if he was into digital currency, and you heard his answer. His answer basically was to say that he doesn't believe in that because obviously, it's the beginning steps leading into the mark of the beast, right? So the fact that he came out on the podcast and he sort of went into the fact that it's something physical that you insert into yourself is the point that I wanted to get at. Now, I don't want to make this a long, drawn out lesson because obviously, it's just something quick. It was just something that I noticed from watching a podcast. I don't watch the whole podcast. I just watched the last 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes or so of the podcast, which is where he says what he says in that clip that I pulled up. But yeah, he basically goes into it and says that it's beginning steps, the people are being conditioned, and these are not his words directly, but he's roughly paraphrasing. I'm roughly paraphrasing what he was saying, is that, the digital system is being implemented and they're doing it by steps. First, they get you on a digital ID, the digital system and all this other stuff. And then it's leading up to the point where, it'll be a physical mark that gets implanted in you, right? Now, he was sort of going into it a bit, how they could control you and you'll be slaves to the system. And if you do something that's deemed, to be against the government in any way, they can just turn you off. And the only way you can get back on is to be re-educated, I guess, and fall in line, basically, right? So he was right on that, on that point. Now, when you look at how the system is going, right, you think about, I believe it's Vietnam, Thailand, around that area, that they had 86 million accounts that were stopped because people were refusing to take the digital ID. When you look here in the UK, you had 2.7 million people sign a petition to say, we don't want this digital system. However, now you're hearing rumors that they're starting to target the kids. Like they're going to start trying to push it where your kids need the digital ID also, right? Now, this is how the system works. Once they've got their foot in the door, you never let a good crisis or whatever go to waste, right? So they're going to keep pushing up. Tony Blair's been trying to get, people on the digital system for a long time. And it's just funny how the system that's going to implement it is run by Tony Blair's son, right? So, or some close relation to him. I think it's his son. I believe it is his son. But it just goes to show you that these devils, these elites that have been in power, this is their part of their agenda. So no matter what the people say, which goes to show you democracy, has never been a thing. It's always been them pulling the strings behind the scene to guide the people where they want them to go. And now the people are starting to speak out against it. And, it doesn't matter what they say now, because obviously they're still going to implement it regardless. So, that's why we say, that starting with the head apostles, the elders of Great Millstone. I'm not in the camp. I always like to make that clear because I'm not a part of the camp, but I do follow after their doctrine, and it's the only doctrine that I do follow under is the doctrine of Great Millstone, because they do have the 100% truth. But anyway, that's just a side note. But it just goes to show you that everything that the elders and apostles have been bringing out for the decades that they've been teaching is now starting to come to light. One scripture particularly that comes into mind is in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. I'm going to go straight to the point. So this is Habakkuk 2. I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie." Right? So now we're at the end. These prophecies are starting to speak. It says, "Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." And the word tarry just means to delay. So although it's taken a long time, because you think they've been out on the highways and hedges for decades telling you about this digital system that's going to be put in place. And you have your scoffers that say, well, it's not the RFID micro chip, it's sin, or it's something else. They're trying to, make their own doctrines up to teach. It's a false doctrine they're trying to teach, right? Why they're trying to do that, I don't know. And why they can't see it, it's because the Lord has blinded them. But you can clearly see it now, right? It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, which that time is now. It says, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, though it's delaying, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And now you're starting to see this thing, like these prophecies just falling off the pages, right? Literally just falling off the pages. You can't deny it now. It can't be denied. And obviously the actor, Noel G, the actor, he's even able to see it. You understand? He may not see it from a Hebrew Israelite standpoint, or he could. Who knows? You never know, right? But he's starting to see it himself, and that's why he had to. You could see it in his face. It's almost like he was excited and compelled to say that's exactly what it is, and you will have a choice whether to accept it or to not accept it. My advice is that you shouldn't accept it at all under any circumstance, right? But obviously, I guess the only thing that can tell is time. Time's the only way you can tell, right? Now, I'm going to go straight to the verse that he was referring to, which is in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. And I'm going to read, this is Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now, we're going to look into that word mark, right? So when we look into it, word mark, it's Strong's G5480, which is charagma, right? So I'll play the definition.
Strong's G5480, charagma. Charagma.
Charagma, right? Which the outline biblical usage is a stamp, an imprinted mark of a mark stamped on the forehead or in the right hand as a badge of the followers of the Antichrist. But although we understand that there's no single Antichrist, because we're in an Antichrist, anti-Hamashiach, should I say, anti-Hamashiach, anti-anointed system, because they don't want to see Yahushua, the true Messiah. That's why they teach you that he looks olive toned, or he's Middle Eastern, instead of bringing out the truth, which in Revelation chapter 1 verse 13 on down describes what Yahushua looks like, and he's a dark-skinned man with white woolly hair, right? So they want you to believe their Messiah and the deity that they created, as opposed to reading it from the scriptures and applying it as the truth, which it is, right? Now, the word, here is another definition. It says, the mark branded upon horses, thing carved, sculpture, graven work, or graven work of idolatrous images, right? So the mark branded upon horses. When you brand a horse, that's your property, basically. That's showing that whatever you've branded belongs to you, and that's what the elites want. They want the people to belong to them. They're trying to get their blessing back through, the GMO way, I guess. But the word that I wanted to look at is the root word etymology from the same as charagma, right? So this is G5482, right? Now, when I open this, you'll get the same word, charax. So I'll play that also.
Strong's G5482, charax. Charax.
Harax, right? And let's have a look. So the outline of biblical usage is a pale or stake, a palisade, right? A palisade or rampart. So what I wanted to look into is this word right here, palisade. So when we go to the palisade, right? Let's look at an image. So a palisade obviously is like a fence of wooden stakes or iron railings fixed to the in the ground, forming an enclosure or defense, right? So that's what the definition is. But when you look at an image, this is what a palisade is, right? So a palisade is something like this. I know you can see the images, right? So you see how they create these fences, these gates, to stop you from accessing unrestricted areas. Slightly about the images, but yeah, you have these gates that make it hard for you to climb over the gates, right? But if you look at the point, the top of these gates, what do they look like to you? They look like syringes, right? So it's talking about a palisade. That's what a palisade is. So if we go back and we look at syringe, let's have a look at microchip. Syringe. Right, so we look at a microchip syringe, right? So they look like this, right? Now, what does the end of this syringe look like to you? It looks like one of them palisades, right? What they insert the chip with. Right? See? It's just like the palisade fence. You see? So that's what it's referring to. Right? So that's what it's talking about. So a lot of times when you say to Israelites, you know, the mark of the beast is, you know, the RFID micro C hip, they'll argue with you and say, no, the mark of the beast is sin, or it's sleeping with white women, or whatever they say. You know, a lot of these, you know, a palisade right there, whatever they say, but it's anything but the micro C hip, right? And we've been telling you that these people, right, these elites, want to insert this in you. So when you go back to, let's see, you go back. When you go to the scriptures, it says, and he causeth, this is Revelation 13 and 16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Now, he causeth them all to receive. Like that guy said, you'll have the choice, the actor says you will have the choice. You either make the choice that you'll receive it or you make the choice that you won't, right? But it will be a choice. It will be a choice whether you want to receive it or not. If you don't, life's going to be really difficult. It's going to be difficult to move around. But, you know, the ultimate reward for that, you know, Lord willing, is that you receive that crown. You become enemy of the state. They capture you or they don't. But ultimately, you know, when these Edomites, these elites, these Edomites make their move against the elect, that's when Yahweh Shai is going to turn up, and he's going to turn up. You know what I'm saying? Right? So I'm going to finish out this scripture, and I'm going to read one last scripture. I'm going to close it up there. Because like I said, I don't want to make it a long lesson, but this is Revelation 13 and 17. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So there we go. You know, that choice. If you say no, life's going to be hard. You ain't going to be able to buy or sell anything, right? He said, save he, except him that had the mark. Is what that means, right? So, yeah, so I'm going to read in the NLT, verse 17, in the Revelation 13 and 17 in the NLT. It says, and no one could buy or sell anything without that mark, which was either the name of the beast or the number of it representing his name, right? So that's a little confusing on that latter part, but it says you cannot buy or sell anything without that mark, is what I'm getting at, right? It says, here is wisdom, verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, 666, or Chi Stai Sigma, right? So, like I said, I'm going to get one last verse, because this is what's going to happen to those that accept the mark of the beast, or the RFID micro C hip in their hand or in their forehead, right? So this is Revelation 14 and 9. And it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into a cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So you're going to catch them nuclear missiles because, you know, you're going to paint a target on your head. You're going to paint a spiritual target, and the angels and your Yahweh Shai going to direct them missiles directly right between your eyes, blow you to smithereens, right? So understand, by accepting that RFID micro C hip, you're marking yourself for death, for complete and total destruction. So I pray that this lesson has been edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. And with that, I pray it was edifying, and it's on to the next one, Lord willing. And I'll catch you on the next one. Shalom.